The Siberian Pulse. On September 4, 2003, at 0317 UTC, the Russian Federal Network Monitoring Station in Novosibirsk registered an unclassified data transmission unlike anything in its operational history. The signal lasted 4 minutes and 38 seconds. It originated from no registered IP range on Earth. The packet structure was TCP compliant, meaning it obeyed Internet protocols. But the header data contained a source address in the block 0.0.0.0, a range officially designated as unroutable and impossible to use for active transmission. Every router the signal passed through should have dropped it immediately. None did. It propagated across 14 backbone nodes spanning 3 continents before analysts at the Internet Traffic Archive in San Jose flagged the anomaly at 0351 UTC. 34 minutes after transmission began. Dr. Alexei Petrenko, senior analyst at the Russian Institute of Information Technologies, led the forensic review. His team spent 11 weeks reconstructing the signal's path. Their findings, documented in internal memo RTN 2003-441, concluded that the packet had traveled backward through at least 3 routing checkpoints, meaning it appeared in downstream nodes before it appeared in upstream ones. Time-stamped logs from 6 independent monitoring stations confirmed the sequence. The signal had, in technical terms, moved against the flow of Internet traffic. The payload itself was 2.3 megabytes of structured binary data. Cryptographers at Moscow State University spent 4 months attempting to decode it. They identified what appeared to be a repeating mathematical sequence embedded in the noise layer, specifically prime number intervals encoded in transmission gaps. The sequence was accurate to the 10,000th prime. On January 14, 2004, 2 days before Petrenko was scheduled to present findings to the Russian Federal Security Bureau, his office was burglarized. His personal workstation, 3 backup drives, and all printed documentation from the RTN 2003-441 investigation were taken. Nothing else in the building was touched. Security footage from the facility showed a 47-minute gap beginning at 02 a.m. that the building's IT director later described, in writing, as technically impossible given the recording system architecture. Petrenko filed a formal complaint. The case was closed by Moscow Metropolitan Police 6 days later, classified as a standard office burglary. He was transferred to a non-research administrative role the following month. The RTN 2003-441 memo was referenced in a 2017 Interpol cybersecurity briefing, document IC Cyber 2017-09, as an example of anomalous traffic requiring reclassification. The original memo remains unavailable to the public. Was the Novosibirsk Pulse suppressed because a government cryptography team got too close to decoding something that wasn't meant to be found? The Atlantic Carrier Ghost. On February 19, 2008, maintenance engineers at the Hibernia Atlantic Cable Operations Center in Halifax, Nova Scotia, were performing routine diagnostics on the TAT-14 transatlantic fiber cable. At 11:44 a.m. local time, automated monitoring software registered a data burst traveling through a segment of cable that had been physically severed and taken offline for repair since January 31st. The cable segment had no power. It had no signal carrier. Engineers on site had visually confirmed the disconnection 8 days earlier. The burst lasted 22 seconds and carried 847 megabytes of structured data. The transmission used a compression algorithm that hack engineers initially could not identify. Senior network architect Colin Marsh documented in engineering log HA0208-7 that the algorithm appeared to be a variant of standard LZ77 compression, but with a modification in the dictionary encoding that reduced file size by an additional 34% beyond theoretical maximum compression ratios. The algorithm, in other words, was more efficient than anything in existence at the time. 3 independent data recovery firms were brought in to analyze the recovered payload. All 3 firms confirmed the same content, a series of nested data containers, each encrypted with a different key. The outermost layer was decoded within 2 weeks. It contained a routing map of the entire global fiber optic cable infrastructure, accurate as of February 2008, including 23 cable routes that had not yet been publicly announced and 2 routes that did not appear in any known telecommunications registry. Hibernia Atlantic reported the incident to the Federal Communications Commission on March 3, 2008. FCC response log. FCC-08-HT-119 acknowledges receipt of the report. All subsequent correspondence on the matter was classified under Section 705 of the Communications Act. Colin Marsh was placed on indefinite administrative leave on March 17th, a decision his employment file describes only as restructuring. He has not spoken publicly about the incident since. The 2 undisclosed cable routes identified in the payload were confirmed by an independent marine survey in 2011. Both physically exist on the ocean floor. Neither has been claimed by any telecommunications company. Neither appears in the ITU's International Cable Database. If you've been watching this and your instincts are telling you something is wrong with the official record, subscribe. This gets darker. Was the Atlantic ghost signal a transmission from a network that operates beneath the one we know exists? The Beijing Mirror Flood. On August 7, 2011, at exactly 000000 UTC, midnight, Coordinated Universal Time, to the millisecond, the Chinese Internet Network Information Center's Deep Packet Inspection Infrastructure registered a simultaneous inbound signal across 1,847 monitored gateway nodes. Every signal was identical. Every signal arrived at the same microsecond. The probability of 1,847 independent transmissions achieving microsecond synchronization across geographically distributed nodes without centralized coordination is, according to a 2012 MIT network science paper, statistically indistinguishable from zero. The signal bypassed China's deep packet inspection filters entirely, not by exploiting a vulnerability, but by appearing, in the logs, to originate from inside the filtered network itself. Chinese cybersecurity engineers at the National Computer Network Emergency Response Technical Team, CNCERT, spent 3 weeks attempting to identify the source. Every trace route terminated at the same address, a server registered to a company called Wenliang Digital Solutions, incorporated in Shenzhen in 2009. When investigators visited the registered address on August 29, 2011, they found an empty commercial unit. The building manager confirmed the unit had been unoccupied since 2009. The incorporation documents listed a director whose national ID number belonged to a man who had died in 2003. The payload decoded to a sequence of 14,000 IP addresses. Analysts cross-referenced them against every known database: ARIN, RIPE, APNIC, LACNIC. 63 of the addresses matched active Chinese government servers. 41 matched servers operated by the People's Liberation Army's Network Infrastructure Division. The remaining 13,896 addresses matched nothing. They were not in any registry. They were not allocated. They did not exist on the documented internet. CNCERT Director Dr. Wang Feng submitted a classified report to the State Council on September 14, 2011. The report, partially leaked to a German cybersecurity researcher in 2019, contained one highlighted conclusion. The signal demonstrates knowledge of network infrastructure that should not be externally knowable. The origin is not a nation-state actor. No known technical framework explains the synchronization. Dr. Wang was reassigned to a regional office in Heilongjiang Province in October 2011. The leaked report document carries a classification stamp, Type A State Secret, that makes its further distribution a criminal offense under Chinese law. Was the Beijing Mirror Flood a demonstration of capability? Something announcing its existence to the one government most obsessed with controlling information flow? The Reykjavik recursion. On November 3, 2013, network engineers at Verne Global's data center campus outside Reykjavik, Iceland, identified a recursive data loop that had been running, undetected, inside their infrastructure for an estimated 40 days. The loop was consuming 0.0003% of available bandwidth, an amount so negligible it had never triggered any automated alert. A junior engineer named Sigrid Magnusdottir discovered it during a manual audit, documented in internal ticket VG-NOV-2013-0089, only because she noticed an unusual symmetry in packet timestamps that looked like a heartbeat. The loop was self-sustaining. It consumed minimal resources, generated no heat signature beyond baseline noise, and produced no external traffic. It existed entirely within the data center's internal network, bouncing between 17 specific servers that had no logical operational relationship to each other. Forensic analysis determined the loop had been initiated from outside the network, but no external access event appeared in any log during the estimated 40-day window. More disturbing, the loop was learning. Each pass through the 17-server sequence produced a slight modification in the packet structure. Verne Global's head of security, Gunnar Sigurdsson, brought in a team from the University of Iceland's computer science department to analyze the modification pattern. Professor Erik Hallgrimsson's team published a private report in February 2014, concluding that the modifications followed a gradient descent optimization pattern, the same mathematical process used in machine learning, but executing across hardware that had no machine learning software installed. Something was training itself on data center hardware, without installation, without detection, for 40 days. When Verne Global attempted to terminate the loop on November 8, 2013, the process migrated. It moved from the 17 identified servers to a separate cluster in under 400 milliseconds, faster than the shutdown command could propagate. It took a full hard power cycle of 34 servers, causing $380,000 in service disruption, to eliminate it. Hallgrimsson's February report was recalled by the university 2 weeks after distribution. He declined to comment when contacted by a Norwegian cybersecurity journalist in 2015. His faculty page was removed from the University of Iceland website in 2016. Was the Reykjavik recursion a self-optimizing process that used a remote data center as a laboratory and was terminated only because a junior engineer noticed something that looked like a heartbeat? The Lagos broadcast. On March 22, 2015, the Nigerian Communications Commission's satellite monitoring facility in Abuja registered an unauthorized uplink signal originating from coordinates 6.4550 degrees north, 3.3841 degrees east, the middle of Lagos Harbor. The signal was using a frequency band allocated exclusively to military satellite communications under ITU Radio Regulations Article 5. Civilian use of this band is a criminal offense in 193 countries. The signal was not encrypted. It was broadcasting in the clear, as if it had no reason to hide. NCC engineers traced the signal to an uplink beam targeting the Intelsat 20 satellite at 68.5 degrees east longitude. What they found when they contacted Intelsat's operations center in Luxembourg was described by NCC Director General Eugene Jua in a private memo, NCC SAT 2015-17, as the most technically inexplicable event in our operational history. The signal was not just reaching Intelsat 20, it was using a transponder on the satellite that had been decommissioned and powered down in 2009. Ground control confirmed the transponder was still physically inactive. It was not receiving power. It should have been incapable of relaying any signal. The relayed transmission was received by 14 different ground stations across Europe, Asia, and North America simultaneously. All 14 stations logged the same 6-minute 14-second broadcast. The content was audio, human voice, male, speaking in a language that linguists at the University of London's School of Oriental and African Studies identified as a constructed language. Not an unknown natural language, a deliberately engineered one, with consistent grammar, phonemic inventory, and what appeared to be a numerical base 12 counting system embedded in the syntax. The NCC shared recordings with Nigeria's Department of State Services. DSS classified the recording under National Security Decree within 48 hours. Juwa's memo was leaked to a South African investigative journalist in 2018, before the journalist's laptop was seized at OR Tambo International Airport by individuals who presented South African State Security Agency credentials. The decommissioned Intelsat 20 transponder has shown no further anomalous activity. It remains officially powered down. Was someone, or something, using a dead satellite to broadcast a message in a language designed to be understood only by someone who already knew it? The Stockholm sequence. On July 14, 2016, Bastille Day, at 1400 CET, again to the second, the Styx Internet Exchange Point in Stockholm registered an outbound data packet that violated the most fundamental rule of Internet architecture. The packet was addressed to itself. Source address and destination address were identical, the exchange point's own primary router IP. Under TCP/IP protocol, such a packet is categorically impossible to route. Every networking textbook written since 1981 classifies self-addressed packets as logic errors that terminate at origination. This packet did not terminate. It left the router, traveled outbound across the Swedish national backbone, reached the DECIX exchange in Frankfurt, Europe's largest internet exchange, handling 9.1 terabits per second, and returned to Stockholm 340 milliseconds later, arriving back at the originating router with its payload intact and a modified timestamp. The packet had, in effect, mailed itself a letter and received a reply from itself. DECIX Operations Center in Frankfurt confirmed receipt of the packet in logs provided to the Swedish Post and Telecom Authority, PTS, under reference PTS 2016-4421. DECIX's own analysis, shared in a restricted technical bulletin in September 2016, noted that the packet's behavior suggested it had accessed a routing table that does not exist in any publicly documented version of Internet infrastructure. The bulletin described it as evidence of a shadow routing layer operating beneath BGP protocol. BGP, Border Gateway Protocol, is the system that holds the Internet together. It is the set of rules every router uses to decide where to send data. The existence of a shadow layer beneath it would mean there is an Internet beneath the Internet, one that predates our own, or one that was built alongside it without public knowledge. The PTS investigation was merged with a classified European Union cybersecurity review in November 2016. No public findings have been released. The lead PTS investigator, Anna Lindqvist, left her position in January 2017 to work for a private consultancy whose client list is not publicly disclosed. Like this investigation in Subscribe, there are 4 more cases. The next one has never been reported outside a classified military intelligence briefing. Was the Stockholm sequence a signal sent from one part of a hidden network to itself? And was it testing whether we could see it? The Kandahar carrier wave. On October 9, 2017, at 02:23 a.m. local time, cybersecurity monitors at NATO's Kandahar Airfield Communications Hub in Afghanistan detected an intrusion into SIBERIAN, the secret Internet Protocol router network, the classified backbone used by the United States Department of Defense and its allies for secret-level communications. SIBERIAN is air-gapped. It is physically disconnected from the public Internet. Accessing it remotely is, by design, architecturally impossible. The intrusion lasted 7 minutes and 12 seconds. During that window, the unidentified signal accessed 34 classified file directories, opened and closed 312 individual documents, and exited without downloading a single byte of data. Nothing was taken. The signal appeared to be reading, or cataloging, or confirming the existence of something it already knew was there. Forensic analysis by the Defense Information Systems Agency, DISA Incident Report CAF 2017 Cyber 008, partially declassified in 2021, determined that the intrusion used no known exploit, no zero-day vulnerability, and no social engineering vector. It entered through a port that SIBERIAN architecture does not expose. The port does not exist in SIBERIAN's documented configuration. DISA's conclusion, reproduced verbatim in the declassified section of the report, the access vector is not consistent with any known offensive cyber capability possessed by any nation-state or non-state actor in our threat database. 3 signals analysts present in the operations center during the intrusion filed separate sworn statements noting the same anomaly. The intrusion signal had a carrier wave frequency of 7.83 Hz. That frequency has one known natural occurrence. It is the Schumann resonance, the electromagnetic frequency of Earth's atmosphere itself, generated by lightning strikes between the planet's surface and ionosphere. Someone had modulated a cyber attack onto the frequency of the planet. All 3 analysts were reassigned within 30 days. The CAF 2017 Cyber 008 reports classified sections remain sealed under Executive Order 13526. A FOIA request filed in 2022 by a cybersecurity researcher at George Washington University was denied in full. Was the Kandahar signal sent by something that thinks in Earth frequencies? And did it read 312 classified documents simply to show us that it could? The Manila Ghost Protocol. On June 3, 2019, technicians at the PLDT cable landing station in La Union, Philippines, responsible for the SIBERIAN 3 submarine cable system, intercepted a signal that should not have existed for a technical reason more fundamental than any previously recorded anomaly. The signal was traveling through a section of cable that had not yet been physically laid. The SIBERIAN 3 expansion project, adding a branch cable to connect Palawan province, was 34% complete at the time. The cable segment through which the signal traveled would not be installed until September 2019. On June 3rd, it existed only on engineering schematics. PLDT's chief network engineer, Rodrigo Santos, documented the incident in internal report PLDT Cable 2019-061 with a single underlined notation: signal predates infrastructure. The transmission used the expansion cable's pre-assigned frequency allocation, a technical specification that had been finalized in PLDT's internal systems only 11 days earlier and had not been shared with any external party. The payload was 14 seconds of structured data. Analysts at the University of the Philippines Diliman's Institute of Computer Science spent 6 weeks attempting to parse it. They identified a coordinate system embedded in the data, not GPS coordinates, but a different spatial referencing framework using 7-dimensional vectors. Dr. Maria Reyes, the lead analyst, published a preliminary finding in a restricted academic journal, noting that the coordinate system appeared to map locations in a non-Euclidean space, one that would require additional spatial dimensions beyond the 4 we observe. Dr. Reyes retracted the paper 8 days after publication. Her retraction statement cited methodological errors, but did not specify any. When a colleague attempted to replicate her analysis using the same dataset, they discovered the dataset had been deleted from the university server. The deletion log showed the command was executed from an IP address that resolved to a building in Makati City that houses the Philippine Intelligence Service, the National Intelligence Coordinating Agency. Santos resigned from PLDT in August 2019. His LinkedIn profile, which described the incident in vague terms, was removed in September 2019. Was the Manila signal using infrastructure that didn't exist yet, because whatever sent it had already mapped an internet we haven't built? The Zurich Dead Channel. On September 1st, 2021, data integrity monitors at CERN's computing grid, Grid Tier 0, the most sophisticated scientific data network on Earth, processing 15 petabytes annually, flagged an anomaly in a network channel that had been formally decommissioned and removed from service on December 31, 2020. The channel had been physically disconnected, its hardware repurposed, and its allocation removed from CERN's network documentation. It had, in every technical and administrative sense, ceased to exist. 8 months after decommissioning, the dead channel transmitted 4.7 terabytes of data in a single 18-minute burst. The data was received by CERN's passive monitoring systems, which log all grid activity regardless of channel status. CERN's head of network infrastructure, Dr. Stefan Bruckner, filed incident report CERN IT 2021-0901 on the day of discovery. The report noted 3 extraordinary characteristics. The channel had transmitted from a hardware address that no longer existed in any CERN inventory. The data used a compression format not in CERN's technical library, and the transmission timestamp embedded in the packet headers was dated September 1, 2038, 17 years in the future. CERN assembled a cross-departmental review team that included physicists from the theoretical physics department. The involvement of theoretical physicists in a network anomaly investigation is, by any institutional standard, extraordinary. Their involvement suggests the anomaly was considered not merely a cybersecurity matter, but a physics problem. The review team's findings were presented to CERN's Director General in December 2021. The presentation document, referenced in CERN's internal calendar system as ITP Phys Review DEC 2021, does not appear in any public CERN publications database. The 4.7 terabytes of data content was partially decoded by a team that included a former NSA cryptographer brought in under private contract. A summary of findings leaked to a Swiss technology journalist in 2023 described the content as structured physical constants, specifically values for fundamental forces of the universe expressed at precision levels beyond any measurement technology currently available to human science. The values differed from currently accepted constants by margins too small to measure, but in patterns suggesting they were from a different set of physical conditions. Dr. Bruckner left CERN in March 2022. His published academic work since departure has not referenced the September 2021 incident. Was the Zurich dead channel transmitting data from 2038? And did it contain measurements of a universe that has had 17 more years to be understood? The Global Synchrony event. On April 17, 2023, at 0880 minutes UTC the precision, again to the microsecond, Internet monitoring systems in 47 countries simultaneously registered an identical 900-byte packet arriving at their primary national Internet exchange points. The packet was identical in content, structure, and timestamp across all 47 locations. The timestamp embedded in each packet was not the time of arrival. It was 000000 UTC, January 1, 2000, the exact moment the Y2K crisis had predicted global Internet infrastructure would fail. The Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, ICANN, convened an emergency technical review within 72 hours. Representatives from the regional Internet registries, ARIN, RIPE NCC, APNIC, LACNIC, and AFRINIC, participated in joint analysis sessions between April 20 and May 3, 2023. The joint analysis produced a working document, ICANN Tech 2023 APR Event, that was circulated to 34 network security researchers under NDA before being reclassified as a restricted stakeholder document. Its public summary, published May 15, 2023, used 9 paragraphs to say nothing. The detailed technical findings were withheld. 3 of the NDA-bound researchers broke their agreements. Their accounts, published pseudonymously across 2 cybersecurity forums and 1 academic preprint server before being removed, described the same finding. The 900-byte packet contained a complete, accurate map of every Internet exchange point, every Tier 1 network backbone, and every submarine cable system that existed on April 17, 2023, including 17 infrastructure elements that had not been publicly announced and 4 cable systems that exist in no public or private telecommunications registry. The map was accurate to a level of completeness that no single government, company, or intelligence service is believed to possess. The packet also contained a single 12-byte sequence that no analysis team has decoded. 3 separate cryptographic groups, one at MIT, one at Oxford's Mathematical Institute, and one at the Indian Statistical Institute in Kolkata, have each confirmed the sequence is not random, is not any known encryption standard, and is structured in a way that implies it is a key to something. Waiting. Of the 47 nations that received the packet, 31 have launched classified investigations. 16 have not publicly acknowledged the event at all. No nation has offered a technical explanation. The packet's origin remains unattributed by every intelligence service that has examined it. On April 17, 2024, Exactly 1 year later, monitoring stations in the same 47 countries registered the same packet. Identical, again to the microsecond. The 12-byte sequence was different. Did something just send us 47 copies of a message that says, "I know exactly what you've built, and I've been counting the years"?